entertainment. Oh, 1 second, sorry. Yeah. Some of us follow them for like their authenticity. Some of us follow them for entertainment, jokes. If you're really into gossip, you want to find out what's going on in an influencer's life. A lot of reasons to follow an influencer, right? But when it comes from a brand standpoint, it's sort of different, right? Like when like the way we perceive influencers to be outside of like work, let's say, you think of them as mini celebrities, right? Like because they are people who have built like a huge following for themselves on social media platforms. They have established credibility in a way that influences you, right? Like influences you, influences your opinions. They could eventually influence your choices as well. What we're going to look at in the first section is how you could use influencers creatively from a brand lens. And in the second section, we're going to touch upon, just recapping for the ones who just joined. In the second section, we're going to touch upon how you could yourself become a creator. How could we serve up some inspo so that you could kickstart a journey of creation for yourself, right? Okay. So, I saw a lot of names in the comment section. Beer Biceps, Alfie Days, Suman Kothari, Finance with Sharan, Shirley Seria. Okay, cool. So let me just recap a little and give a little bit of history about like influence in general, and then we can get into the do's and don'ts. What will make you in terms of campaigns? What will essentially help you devise a strategy, devise the right influence. Can someone go on mute, please? Thank you. Okay, yeah. So we'll watch a couple of videos before we delve into like strategy and the technical stuff. And yeah, let me play the first video. Anyone notice influencers doing this out whenever you're hanging out? Like, let's say you are visiting, let's say, a monument, a park, or like, let's say, Connaught Place out in the street, or let's say you are at Worli Sea Face, you're at Marine Drive. We've all seen this, right? We are used to this kind of behavior. I think it's something that's, how would I say, it's become logically acceptable after a point in time. I think earlier, whenever we used to look at stuff like this, we used to be like, what the hell is going on, right? But now this behavior is more and more normalized, right? More and more people are becoming creators, as you see every day, right? Like more and more people want to try and make their mark on the internet, try and make their mark in life as well, right? So let me play the next video. Sorry. Have you all noticed this happening ever?
All right, what's up, guys? So I thought I would give y'all my morning routine because y'all... Is something wrong? What are you doing? My followers have been asking for a morning routine. So anyways, every morning I wake up at 5 a.m. and I get that morning pump, get that morning grind.
I think whenever anyone around us tries to do something like this, our mind automatically like kind of tries to protect ourselves and like save ourselves from either featuring in some cringe content or just in general, right? Like, what is my friend up to, right? But again, like I said, right, like more and more of this content is becoming normalized. Like, I think hearing stuff like, oh, all right, guys, I saw a lot of you people ask me in the comment section what this meant and what product I have bought, or like what sari I was wearing, or what skincare product that I use, right? And it's becoming more and more normal for you to see content like that on Instagram. Let me play the third video, right?
All right, what's up, guys?
Yeah. But have you all seen content like this?
I'm making them hot dogs as fast as you can. Up steps the cat yells, don't be slow. And get me 2 hot dogs ready to go. Hot dog! She's my
So there are creators out there who want to create content that is extremely creative, the content that makes them stand out, content that can be their niche or something that will make them eventually famous, right? So I think what I'm trying to say here is influencers have, we are living in the era of influencers, right? Like influencers are pretty normalized today, right? Like if I were to tell you, like let's say if you were to start off with a joke, which is like, how many influencers does it take to screw a light bulb? If you were to say something like that, the answer would usually be something like one to actually screw it in, one to click, one to edit, one to vlog, one to live stream, one to create the sponsored post, and the rest just for enlightening your audience, right? So we have reached that point where influencer culture is pretty normal. It's gotten to the point where, like, let's say, how many people in this room have bought something because an influencer has recommended it? What is the last thing you bought, Sharmila? What is the last thing you bought because an influencer recommended it? Right? Great. So I think more and more people are buying because an influencer provides an authentic kind of a perspective. Like it's like that friend in your group, right? Think about it. Um, I'd rather buy something that a friend would recommend than, let's say, a brand would recommend it myself, or a celebrity would recommend it myself, right? Like it's becoming increasingly difficult to kind of trust celebrities today, right? Like 2 months ago, Disha Patani was like advertising for a Vivo phone. Yesterday, she was advertising for a Xiaomi phone. So it's difficult to trust which phone she trusts at the end of the day, right? Whereas a friend in my group has a very unbiased perspective towards which phones I should use, right? Like they obviously know what I'll use my phone for and accordingly recommend me a phone. So let's say if I'm a great photographer, they might tell me, hey, you could go for an iPhone or a Pixel. If I were to be, if I had a constraint on my budget, they would tell me, hey, go for a Xiaomi or a Redmi, right? So I think what influencers provide brands the opportunity to do is to have authentic conversations with an audience that they might not potentially be having conversations with, right? So like I think studies have also shown that intent, sorry for getting a little MBA and technical here, but like basically purchase intent for a consumer has gone up by 65%, which is remarkably high. And considering the comment section and how many people have said yes, it definitely is something, right? Like we have seen influencers buying more, us consumers buying more and more products because a certain influencer recommended it, right? So let's begin with where
I'm making them hot dogs.
right? Like, what, how did this kind of journey start, right? Like you always in the 90s as well as the early 2000s, you had all of your celebrities on the left, right? Like, and celebrities continue to dominate majority of the ads that you see right today, like at least on TV. Like, but if you see in 2023, TV viewership is increasingly decreasing. Okay, and like the viewership is decreasing, and like what was 700 million before out of 1.2 billion people, it has gone down to 500 million. Yet it is still higher than how many people consume OTT or use social media, right? India today has 500 million active internet users, which is amazing. And with like the influx of brands like Jio, which have kind of democratized internet rates for a lot of people in India, we are expecting to see more and more people becoming more internet users rather than TV users. If you also see the number of people using OTTs have gone up. So brands have also started advertising more on OTT platforms. Like last, I think I checked, there were almost 424 million people who are on OTT platforms. And when it comes to social though, social is still growing, right? Like at the end of the day, I think even if you see Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp will still continue to be the app that's used the most. However, WhatsApp, if you think about it, it's not really a social media platform per se, unless we make it to be, right? But coming back a little bit, you have Instagram, which has roughly 200 odd million people, and somehow is like the most active platform of today. Facebook, even though it has a higher number of people, I think it's occupied by an audience that uh, we regularly don't interact with, right? Like it's as advertisers, I think we are trying to get more into millennials, get more into appealing. Sorry, anyone said anything? Okay, appealing to Generation Z, right? So let me just explain what this slide essentially is. Okay, so on the left you have your celebs, which your A-list celebs like your Bhai, your SRK, your Amitabh, Deepika, all of the celebs that you usually end up seeing in ads, right? But when it comes to marketing and advertising, you have certain tiers in terms of how it's divided, right? So you have your category A, category B, category C as well. So category A essentially is influencers who have more than like roughly more than 1 million followers, right? Like they are followed across the board, not just on one platform, but across multiple platforms, right? Because today, if you think about it, the way you build your reach, the way you build your audience is to connect with them on different platforms as well, right? So if you take the example of Tanmay Bhatt, I think has at least 20 accounts, okay, spread all across the internet. And the beauty of it is he doesn't just stay limited to one kind of content, right? Like, although he started out as a comedy influencer, we now see reaction memes that he does. We also see him giving out financial advice. Like, I never thought I was going to take financial advice from Tanmay Bhatt, okay? Like, I still find it funny in 2023. However, if you look at the other people that are also in this list, you have creators like Slaypoint, who also do something like meme reviews. Prajakta Kohli, who also started like as a beauty as well as lifestyle sort of an a lot, and she started her own cooking channel and eventually went on to become one of the biggest cooking influencers from India, right? And on the right, you'll see Aves Darbar. Aves Darbar had become India's topmost followed person on the internet before the government ended up banning TikTok, right? So all of these people are categorized in your cat A. Basically, how it works is the more your followers, the funda is very simple. The higher the number of followers, the higher the number of engagement you have, and the higher the amount of effort that an influencer will have to put. Brands and market like agencies charge get charged accordingly, right? So just a little bit like a rough secret of sorts, like these cat A influencers will typically cost upwards of 15 to 20 lakhs, right? Like, and I'm giving you the most basic cost that they will charge for a video or amplifying your content. When it comes to cat B influencers, you have someone like a Sakshi Shabdasani. You will have someone like a Mitpat, a Rohan Joshi, a Nirmal Pillai in the south. These are influencers who haven't made it to 1 million followers yet are supremely popular among the masses. They have created a sort of niche for themselves on the internet as well. Like, let's say, Sakshi, who was an ex-Splitsvilla contestant, made a really nice niche for herself as a lifestyle influencer, as a fashion influencer as well, right? Rohan Joshi, who was an ex-journalist and a comedian, now just does a bunch of content, which I sometimes have a hard time following as well, right? Like, he does jokes one time, suddenly he's talking about F1, suddenly he's talking about comics. But the great thing about it is he has all sorts of people engaged at the same time. And the last one is your Cat C influencers who have less than 100,000 followers. I might have been like paid by all of them secretly to kind of feature them here. So some of them, like you mentioned in the chat as well, someone like a Devag Mukherjee, who's like someone who really loves ads and loves talking about them on LinkedIn. Kajol, who has made like the whole corporate humor genre her personality. Damilson Rama, who's someone who's like a lifestyle as well as a fitness influencer, but trying to be more spiritual and wholesome at the same time as well. Brukenstein is an example of a really nice regional influencer who has taken one joke and kind of stretched it to no end, right? So do check them out. Like I said, I might or might not have been paid, so this could be potentially be a sponsored post, right? Okay, so let's move on to the why, right? Like, why are we going here? And like, as we discussed, right? Like more and more people have stopped watching TV. More and more people are coming onto the internet, and because of this, you're trying to figure out what kind of like whatever you're consuming on the internet. Sometimes you don't know whether this content is actually real or an influencer is trying to push you something, right? Like one lovely stat that I found out was that marketing agencies and brands have spent almost 12 billion, okay, like 12 billion on influencers as of last year, okay. And like very happy to hear, very happy to see that even the clients that we usually work with, right, like let's say a Swiggy, a Flipkart, an Airtel, have increased influencer budgets because they see more levels of authenticity, more levels of engagement that come through influencer content rather than just pushing ads on TV. Yeah. So why do they do that, right? Like, and this is a very by chance observation that we saw, right? Like why are brands spending so much more this year and every year on year, right? Because at the end of the day, what brands can do is tap into this influence, because at the center of this influence is you, right? They want to create desire for their product. They want to see, they want to attach themselves to more and more communities, so that whenever a consumer is asked, like, let's say, hey, you know what, tell me like some of the skincare brands, you know, or tell me some of the fashion brands that you know. Even though you passively hear influencer content, you just know that your brand is going to be top of mind. Like think a brand like Mokobara today, right? I did not know about Mokobara. I think everything I've learned about Mokobara has been against my will, right? Because I just end up seeing influencer content here and there. They've done such a fabulous job of pasting the whole internet with Mokobara content that I feel compelled to go and buy it. Even though it's slightly expensive, I'm just like, hey, you know what? It looks really cute. The bag that's advertised, I think the influencers they have picked make really entertaining content. And I feel compelled, okay, you know what? Maybe in the next 6 months or so, I might end up buying a Mokobara, right? So that's a really great example of how a brand has collaborated with an influencer, with an influencer network to create desirability for a product, right? Okay, so this brings us to our first video. So we're going to be watching a lot of videos today. So if at any time you all have questions, again, please feel free to use the comment section. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
When you pay your credit card bills on Cred, you earn Cred coins. Use them to claim cashback and rewards.
I know this sounds ridiculous.
It's like saying Rahul Dravid has anger issues.
Hey! That doesn't mean you can overtake. Come, man. Come. You come, man. What is Hey!
Could have gone straight and taken it.
Indranagar ka gunda hu main.
I hope everyone has on some level seen this ad, right? Now, I think everyone thinks this ad first came out on TV, but it did not come out on TV. It did not come out from the Cred profile.
When you pay your credit card,
the first tweet, like the first mention of this ad actually came from Virat Kohli's profile. Okay. So what Cred did, what Cred realized at this point of time, right, is every single time we are pushing an ad, right, it's reducing the views that we are getting, because people do not essentially want to follow brands as possible, right? But they want to follow Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli is like, when this ad came out, Virat Kohli was at his peak. Okay, like I don't want any hate from Virat Kohli fans in the comments, but at this time Virat Kohli was at his peak. At least the amount of brand endorsements, the amount of engagement he was getting at that point of time, it just made very solid sense for the team that was working on it. And this is all in retrospect that I'm saying, but it was so fantastic to kind of see Virat Kohli just tweeting out, never seen this side of Rahul Bhai, right? And you would expect it to be something about the cricket team, and suddenly you're just bombarded with this ad where it was, the ad was great in itself, right? Like at the end of the day, you know, an influencer is only great if their content is great, and the content was bang on here, right? Like you were delighted in a way where like I think for the longest time every cricket fan must have seen, man, Dravid is known as Captain Cool, and I've never seen Captain Cool lose their shit, right? And here you're seeing Rahul Dravid just going bonkers, right? So it was a really good surprise to kind of collaborate with someone like a Virat to release this ad. And eventually you'll end up seeing more and more of this happening, right? Like you'll see brands not using traditional mediums to serve you ads, because the traditional mediums are slowly becoming extinct, right? Like even if like if I were to say the amount of people who have kind of sacrificed their Tata Sky connections in the last 5 years has gone up gone up dramatically, right? Because we are all depending on things like a Fire Stick, or like we are just connecting our laptop to the TV, because we know there's there's ad-free content out there, right? So where do we get them, right? Like how do we then, as marketers or advertisers, or like just in general creative people, how do you kind of make sure that an ever increasing internet audience actually notices your content, right? So I'm going to be showing a few examples, and each example kind of particularly talks about a particular aspect of influencer marketing. And at that point of time, I would really like if the comment section is a little more active. Yeah, thank you.
घर एक स्वर्ग होता है, जैसे चाहे रो जियो, लेकिन मेरे साथ ऐसा नहीं था।
बड़ा प्यारा बेटा है खली, बस कभी कभी अपनी ही ताकत नहीं समझ पाता।
जिस ताकत ने मेरे को दुनिया भर में मान सम्मान दिलाया, वही ताकत मेरी प्रॉब्लम बन गई। कभी सोचता था मैं अगर मैं औरों की तरह होता, पर मेरी माँ कहती थी नहीं बेटे, तू स्पेशल है। और ऐसा ही चलता रहा। अपने आप को मैं हेल्पलेस फील करता था। फिर एक दिन मौसी ने बताया अंबुजा सीमेंट से घर बना लो। उसके बाद पता चला घर पे रहने का मजा है।
Now, if you think about it, the concept of brand ambassador is increasing, like it's decreasing, right? Like you hear brands want to collaborate with a bunch of people to try and tap into different audiences. So they try and keep brand ambassadorship as a concept kind of out of advertising, right? They'd rather sign a deal for a small amount of time and try and get as much mileage out of an influencer's reach or their popularity, right? So now here, I think what I wanted to discuss was how the partnership was so seamless, right? Like it was, if you think about it, Khali has been the unspoken symbol of strength across the world, right? He's been that Indian representation that we have had in WWE. Like many of us were so like, I mean, I personally don't watch WWE, but my friends do. And I heard a lot of them when they were like very happy to see, oh, we finally have a representation here, right? And when I think Khali retired, obviously a lot of people in advertising were like, okay, here's a man that has represented us on the world stage. So how could we use him to the best of his skills, right? Like, and if you see, Khali is not much of a talker, right? Like it's very difficult to get Khali to act as well, okay? But I think I just want to like give a hat tip to the agency behind this, the Publicis Group, and their Chief Creative Officer, Bobby Pawar, who actually came up with this ad, where they seamlessly like kind of integrated a really nice thing that Khali is throughout the world known for, right? Like if you watch this ad as a person, as not even an Indian, you'll completely understand it because it just cuts through, like it does not need dialogue to make sense, right? Like it's just Khali is just walking into things and breaking stuff. And eventually you realize when Ambuja Cement comes into the play, Khali can't do anything. So as a seamless brand fit, I really liked it. If you liked any others, sorry, was there a question? Huh. Okay. Huh. Okay. So obviously, usually it's influencers who decide how much they want to get paid. Influencers, just like celebrities, typically have managers as well. So like, let's say, for example, there are agencies like Elevate Media, there are agencies like Quan, there are agencies like the Collective Artist Network. There is something called OML, which is Only Much Louder, right? Like the people who are responsible for the NH7 Weekender, right? So they also have like a influencer agency arm. So typically they end up managing all of these folks, and it could, sorry, how much does a cat see? Huh. So for a cat see person, it typically can change basis the amount of followers and amount of engagement that you have. But I've seen like cat see influencers going up to like 1.5 lakh. Like if you have like roughly 50,000 followers, you can get paid that much for just a post, depending on the amount of effort you put. But like I said, right, like it all depends on how good your agent is at the end of the day to kind of convince the brand and the agency how much they want to get paid, right? So that could, like, that number could change here and there. Yeah, cool. So we'll move on to the next video. Okay.
घर एक स्वर्ग होता
20 Grand Slams, 8 Wimbledons, 310 weeks at the top. So what does it take? Hi, I'm tennis legend Federer, and this is how I became the world's greatest player. I've always believed that hard work is key. Take it from a 5-time US Open champion that you must always play to your strengths. How did I win 6 Australian Open titles? Simple. Perfect the perfect serve. And finally, if I have to give you one lesson, as the world's best single-handed backhand player, make every shot count. Maybe not everyone can become a tennis legend, but you know what? You can become a coding legend. Sign up for the Solana Grizzly-thon and submit your project. There's $5 million in prizes to be won.
How many of you all thought it was Federer first? No, no one. Okay, so I think the beauty of this ad was the writers on this noticed a long time ago, like, which was the what the internet says of, like, there is meme culture around this, right? Like where the internet genuinely thinks Arbaz Khan and Roger Federer are either twins or like two brothers who got separated at the Kumbh Mela, right? And I think what the writers doubled down on was that, right? Like I think they brought they listened to what the internet was saying and tried to push the joke as much as possible, right? So one of the key takeaways from the first two ones is always know what the internet is saying about your influencers, because that's absolutely essential right from the beginning, whether you want to like partner with an influencer. So like, let's say, for example, you have an influencer, for example, like Carrie Minati, right? Now, Carrie Minati is a gamer. Carrie Minati is known to be known to say a lot of expletives, say a lot of bad words on his stream as well, right? So brands typically in India are slightly a little scared to collaborate with someone like that, right? Because in the long run, it could affect how people perceive your brand as well. So the influencers that you need to pick should be brand safe, and at the same time, you need to know the kind of things the kind of content your influencer has put out, so or the culture that's around your influencer, so that you can create content that is more that resonates more with your audience. Yeah. And we'll move to the next video.
20 Grand.
Okay. We're going a little abroad with this one. Any NBA fans in the audience? Or people who watch NBA? Awesome. Not MBA, Rohan. NBA, the basketball. Okay, cool. So let me just like present this like case study and then we'll discuss it further.
And now, an influencer campaign you can't call bullshit on.
Why am I in this sponsor post for Hulu? Because they're paying me. A lot.
Well, that was real. But let's back up. This is Hulu. Pretty much everyone in the US knew about it, but pretty much no one knew Hulu had live TV for sports. Sports! So Hulu threw a ton of cash at some NBA All-Stars and said, create an influencer campaign that feels real and authentic. Huh? Influencers are just people trying to hide the fact they're getting paid to sell stuff. But not our influencers. They got paid and got straight to the point.
Hulu has live sports.
Hulu has live sports.
Hulu has live sports.
These guys were sick and tired of faking it for other brands, so we let them sell out however they wanted to. Take Damian Lillard. Everyone knows him for his tattoos. And heading into All-Star Weekend, he teased a new one.
It's your boy Dame Dollar. I'm about to get some new ink, and I'm gonna be showing y'all for the first time at All-Star Weekend, so stay tuned. Ooh.
The internet theories lit up until Damian shared his contract with Hulu just as our TV spot dropped during the game.
Hulu has live sports.
Really? Yeah, it's in my contract.
And then there's Joel Embiid, who famously nicknamed himself The Process. He told his 3.4 million followers it was now Hulu has live sports.
Mr. Embiid, why'd you change your nickname?
Money.
And while sneakerheads everywhere were waiting for Giannis Antetokounmpo's first signature Nikes, he teased this and messed with sneaker culture by dropping his first signature slippers.
Do you have to wear these out in public?
No, never. See, out in the world, you're Nike. But on the couch,
Your Hulu has live sports.
Not to be outdone by Nike, Adidas dropped custom Hulu sellout Dame 5s. Then, even more All-Stars sold out. We knew the campaign was taking off when fans started changing their handles. Social media blew up, and the press took note. And there you have it, 100% bullshit-free influencer campaign. But don't take our word for it.
Hulu should win an award for this.
Okay. Yeah. So the reason why I showed this campaign, right, is we have increasingly reached this point where we also have a little bit of influencer fatigue, right? Like, I think when you're scrolling on Reels or when you're consuming content on Twitter, and when you see an influencer advertising a product, you suddenly get slightly cheesed off, right? Like we all do, right? Like, because I'm just like, yeah, kal tak to tera content acha tha, and suddenly you're switching and like selling me I don't know, a sharpener or like a serum or whatever, right? So the whole idea with this campaign, I think, was to actually turn it over its head, right? Like, you are actually showing that we can sell stuff without, like, by being completely 100% bullshit free, right? And I think that's what this campaign did. It's one of my favorite influencer campaigns from, I think, 3 years ago. It ended up winning a lot at Cannes Lions as well. What the beauty of this campaign is, they got through to every influencers base thing, right? Like, if you think about it, Damian Lillard is known as someone who gets a lot of tattoos. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the third tall guy who was there, he's known to release a lot of sneakers. He's known to be a very legit sneakerhead, and he talks about sneakers a lot on his sorry. Where did they ridicule other brands? The Nike one? Are you talking about Nike?
There was this one part where they were like, influencers are generally bored of doing paid content, and they don't feel it's genuine, and they're bored of it. So is
Correct.
that something that they can generally put out there?
Yeah, correct. So, like, that's why I gave the prelude, right? Which is, your audience is more and more increasingly bored of seeing you do paid content, like, or sponsored content, which is why if you go to any influencer's page, right, the post with the most likes will be the one which has no brand posts at all, like no kind of brand connection, no plug, no product placement or anything like that, right? So those kind of posts end up performing better, right? So here, America is also in a way slightly ahead of us in terms of the conversation. So they are in that phase where people already know that, okay, influencers are getting paid for a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like they are selling you stuff, they are getting paid for it, yet you are consuming their content every day and helping them make more money, right? But I think here what they are what they're saying, right, is they're essentially telling you, hey, you know what? We know you're tired of campaigns like this. So here is 100% bullshit free campaign, right? Like you don't need to watch the faff. You don't need to, sit and look at me for a minute. Here's 10 seconds, 15 seconds. We're just going to watch this. You're just going to watch this, we're going to get the money and we're going to walk out of this. Sorry, I'm just taking a look at the questions. Yeah. Anshul, could you just go off mute and elaborate your question, please?
Hello.
Yes.
So what they did was they said that these influencers are bored, and at that moment they put a screenshot where they were advertising for other brands. So that screenshot is what I'm asking about. Can they do that?
Wait, let me just play it again. Just
And
tell
now
me to
an
stop
influencer campaign.
where it is, okay? Are you talking about this?
Yes.
So what essentially, see, this is a case study video by the agency, right? What they're trying to show here is this kind of thing already happens, right? This is the behavior that already is there out in the industry, right? Like where a consumer already knows that the influencer is getting paid for this stuff. And the influencer also know that they are doing a shitty thing by, interrupting their native content by pushing stuff like this, right? So what this campaign, the beauty of this campaign is it tackles both of them, right? Like it saves the consumer from watching an extra piece of content just to get disappointed in the end. And it also helps influencer get money and maintain their authenticity, right? Like, so if you see the examples, like I said, Damian Lillard, the guy who's known to get tattoos, they made the celebrity leg of it, right? Like completely entertaining, right? Like because everyone on the internet ended up thinking, okay, Dame is about to get a new tattoo. And eventually it ended up becoming a prank, right? You still were entertained at the end of it. You didn't waste your time while, getting plugged a product. So which is why it's completely allowed. It's completely something that it keeps you away from the herd, right? Like usually if you see in India, the kind of videos that are created for influencers, they are very straight up piece to camera type of places, right? Like they're just like, hi guys, I have been using this let's say shampoo and it has been working wonders for me. Please use this coupon in the comment section to avail 20% off on your next purchase, right? It's becoming that functional, right? So when you're adding that sort of creative lens to it, you're adding a little bit of social entertainment to it. It ends up becoming something that is a good payoff for the consumer, as well as at the same time, the influencer still sticks to their native content and increases their engagement.
Right.
Yeah. Have I answered your question? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll move to a little closer to home, something that my ex-agency did. You're aware of Bhuvan Bham? It's very difficult to be in India and not be aware of him. So I'm just gonna play his video. So sorry, just a second.
कल मेरे पापा शर्मा जी को कह रहे कि भुवन को तो बच्चा बच्चा जानता है। मुझे शर्म आ गई, फिर डाउट हुआ, क्या मुझे कोई सच में जानता है? मैं कौन हूं, मेरा किस चीज में इंटरेस्ट है? फिर समीर ने मुझे हौसला दिया और मुझसे बोला, दुनिया पे कैसा हूं, पहले खुद को तो जान लो। और फिर उसने मुझे गूगल ऐप पर दिखाई डिस्कवर फीड। इस पे मेरे मतलब का बहुत कुछ है। वो क्या है ना, मेरे अंदर मम्मी है, पापा हैं, टीटू मामा है, मास्टर जी हैं, तो सबके इंटरेस्ट भी अलग अलग हैं। कभी कभी मेरे अंदर की मम्मी को मुझे तो सोने के भाव में रुचि है, और टीटू मामा को बे मुझे चाहिए क्रिकेट और पिज्जा डबल चीज, ये सीरियल विलियर हाइड प्लीज। मेरी डिस्कवर फीड पर मेरे इंटरेस्ट की सारी चीजें हैं, वो भी मेरे बिना सर्च किए। क्या पता आपकी फीड पर भी मेरी वीडियोस हों। मुझ में किसको इंटरेस्ट नहीं है। तू पहले पानी की बोतलें भर ले।
So this was the film I actually had the opportunity to closely watch come alive. This is made by a couple of writers who I closely work with. Like I feel what really worked for this ad was I saw, first of all, saw the incredible amount of research they had to do in order to get like certain nuances from the script right? Like all his schizophrenic personalities that are there, like Titu Mama, like his mom, mummy, Sameer Mama, stuff like that, right? Like all of those. Clearly, I've not done the research, so please excuse me if I get a character name wrong. But essentially, the writers on this had to go through a lot of content to kind of get his dialogues, to stay within. So let me just back up. Google is a very safe brand, okay? Like Google like is one of the most expensive brands in the world, and in India they are extra safe, right? Because of whatever political religious stuff, political religious sexual stuff that ends up going across the country, they want to stay as away from it as possible, right? And as marketers, as agency folks, we are also constantly advised to stay away from these, right? Like which is the political side of things, the sexual side of things, the religious side of things, unless you are like brand Durex and then you can say basically anything you want. But as a brand, Google is very safe, right? So it's a very big challenge to kind of go through an entire creator's portfolio, understand the nuances of their characters, and cleverly build it to like, you know, create a story that compels you to go and check out the product, right? Like I think here, if you see the video, it does not talk about selling anything at all at the start, right? Like it keeps talking about Bhuvan's interest, right? Like you're still maintaining the authenticity of the content. You are still interested in knowing more about Bhuvan's life, right? So even with the examples that you see later that are plugged through Google Discover, they are actually taken from the interests of his characters, right? So you are maintaining authenticity throughout the content that he's pushing out, right? So that's one of the most important aspects of it. A lot of influencers tend to lose their authentic tone of voice as they grow old, like grow bigger, right? Like I think very few have managed to stay very true to their voice. One of them, and I really respect him for this, is Tanmay Bhatt, because I think his comedian persona just shines through when he's doing those reaction videos, right? Like you just want to just sit and like enjoy his video for 10 minutes, even though he's like just laughing like an idiot, right? Like his laughter has become so infectious. Sometimes someone else has cracked a joke and I end up hearing Tanmay's laugh, right? So it's just one of those things, right? Like you need to kind of maintain that authenticity in your tone of voice when you move to the brand side as well, right? Like when when you're collaborating with an influencer, try not to push more of your brand codes into the equation, right? Like, and what do I mean by brand codes? Let's say if I were to get Amitabh Bachchan for a Chyawanprash, right? Now Chyawanprash ka perception hi hai ki it's like a grandparent kind of a brand, right? Like it's something that like you're closely associated with, like let's say in winter where your mom will come and give you a spoon of Chyawanprash and say, please kha lena, this will just help you build your immunity, right? Not researched. No, there is no reason to believe your mom as you grow as an adult, because there is no statistical claim to you know, like trust Chyawanprash that much. But let's say tomorrow if Tanmay Bhatt came out and just said, hey, remember guys, जब हम छोटे हुआ करते थे तभी मम्मी हमें च्यवनप्राश खिलाया करती थी. You're just relating to this sentiment, okay? Whether you're going to go and buy Chyawanprash or not is completely up to you. But at that moment in time, you have created this small and beautiful memory of relatability with Chyawanprash there, right? So content like this, you need to keep the, like I said, you need to keep the influencer's authentic voice as well as your brand's tone of voice also in the same line. Okay. Which brings us to the next campaign, which is, I think, one of my favorite campaigns in this presentation. To watch it.
In 2011 में इंडिया
won the cup.
पर पहले Oreo launched in India in 2011. So India won the cup in 2011. Oreo launched in 2011. India won the cup in 2011. Oreo launched in 2011. India won the cup in 2011. Oreo launched in 2011. So Oreo launched in 2011.
India won the cup in 2011.
Connection समझ रहे हो ना?
With another World Cup this year, we actually launched Oreo again.
Presenting Oreo for the first time in India again.
Oreo relaunched to bring back 2011, and then entire India joined us. A Bollywood director released her movie
again.
A sports book from 2011 launched
again.
A beer from 2011 brewed
again.
And history started repeating on the field too. India beat Pakistan, Netherlands, Bangladesh, just like in 2011.
Again.
And funnily, even lost against South Africa, like in 2011.
Again.
The belief in Oreo got bigger, and so did the responses. The Times of India brought back their 2011 front page.
Again.
Famous recipes.
Again.
Iconic hairstyles.
Again.
Favorite merchandise.
Again.
Nostalgic tattoos.
Again.
Again. Again. Again.
So, and Oreo has always been the 12th man of Indian cricket.
After all, sometimes
to create history, we need to recreate history.
I can't explain how much I love this idea. It was, I think, one of the best ideas that has come out of India. Even though it's come from a rival agency, like props to every member of the team, because first to kind of come up with the creative idea that, oh, okay, to establish that connection that Dhoni took so long to come to in the first 20 seconds. This idea would not have worked without Dhoni, right? Like the idea needed Dhoni to kind of establish credibility because he had become the face of India winning the World Cup, right? Even though it was Sachin's last World Cup, it was Dhoni who made it happen after 28 odd years, right? So just after retirement, they just roped in Dhoni, held this unexpected press conference. But the beauty of the idea, I think, lied in recreating everything from 2011, right? Like they went completely across the board. They played out the joke as much as they could, right? Like I think to get Harsha Bhogle to re-release a book in 2022 is great. Like, I mean, Zoya technically didn't re-release Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, but she created that intrigue around the campaign where everyone believed, oh my God, is ZNMD 2 coming back, right? So all this deception kind of ended up making more and more people clue into the campaign, make Oreo top of mind completely, because as you can see in the video, even Australian podcasters are talking about Oreo, right? Oreo being the 12th man of Indian cricket, which was very funny considering Oreo did not exist in India till 12 years ago, right? So very great use of the influencer here. They played their cards right properly. And yeah, I think if anyone wants to add, anyone has any questions, happy to answer them right now itself. If not, I will move on to the next slide, which is going to be slide self-plug. Okay, so this is a campaign, like so far the kind of campaigns that we have seen, right, like is ideas that kind of needed influencers per se, like essentially an idea that depended on an influencer, right? Like if you think about it, the Khali idea would not have worked without Khali. The MS Dhoni idea would not have worked without MS Dhoni, right? Like it's like there are, like if you look at advertising from a brand or agency lens, there are ideas that are centered around influencers completely. And then there are ideas that only need influencers to amplify, right? And I think this is one of those ideas that we happened to produce as of last year. And it had a great showing at a lot of award shows as well. Let me know what you think.
If you can figure out what's happening in this picture, Swiggy will give you rupees 1 lakh.
The online food ordering and delivery platform is taking over billboards, newspapers, and the internet with one burning question.
Why is this a Swiggy ad?
Why is this a Swiggy ad? There is no way that's a Swiggy ad.
Here is a graphic designer's theory on why this is a Swiggy ad.
I've seen this campaign and I have no clue what the answer is.
Looks like the ad is filled with Easter eggs and stuff you see regularly on the internet. And they've all got something to do with Swiggy?
Everyone has a different version of the ad in their head. They think this ad is about groceries, about street food, crypto, interplanetary deliveries, time dilation. We even got cannibalism. Everyone answered basis what Swiggy sort of does for them. As a brand, we do so much more than just deliver stuff.
I think the Swiggy marketing team has way too much money and they're trying to make us do the work for them.
We're gonna use the golden spiral. The point exactly lands on the word Rahul.
स्विगी के प्रीवियस गुलाब जामुन ऐड में जो अंकल थे वो अंकल और ये सेम है.
Swiggy is being secretly funded by Elon.
मैं तो भाई खाना मंगा रहा हूँ स्विगी पे.
2 दिन से श्रीनी जॉय बस लिख रहा है, थ्योरी लिख रहा है पेपर पे.
अगर तुम बात कर रहे हो, अगर तुम एंगेज कर रहे हो तो ये स्विगी ऐड तुम्हारा बन गया.
Sorry.
Wrong. Interesting, but sorry.
No, 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 no.
So why I particularly wanted to show this campaign, right, is because the previous ideas that we spoke about, the previous ideas that we showed, the Arbaz one, the Khali one, Dhoni one, all of them were great creative ideas from the start, which does not mean to say that this is not a great creative idea. This idea is slightly meta in nature, right? Like, I think no one knew what the answer to this creative was, right? Like, whenever anyone saw the like I know that like when this campaign released, a lot of my friends were on my WhatsApp and they were all like, answer batana yaar, like we have already submitted the answers, you can tell us, we are not going to win the 1 lakh, we are friends with you, we know you're not going to give us the prize, right? So because it was meta in nature, you needed to engineer a lot of conversations on the internet. What I mean by engineer is if you look at it from a basic marketing sort of perspective, right? Like I could have just done this as a social campaign where I would have just put this as a creative on Swiggy's profile, gotten 4 or 5 influencers to kind of just talk about it in my comment section, and it wouldn't have had that kind of impact that it did in the case film, right? So like we didn't just limit the campaign to social, we took it across outdoors, we took it to print, and we made the conversation reach a point where people are actually discussing it on live streams, right? Like 2 live streams that were shown in this case film are something that we did on our own. But there was live streams that started from gaming communities, from I think lifestyle communities as well, which were like discussing this ad nonstop for like almost 3 to 3.5 hours, right? So you need a little bit of influencer support in stuff like this to kind of engineer certain conversations that can eventually help you deliver results to a client that they eventually expect, right? So yeah, so that brings us to the end of the first section. Like essentially what I wanted to like tell in this first section is like the key to success in influencer marketing in India, right? Like is, first of all, you need to like recognize the diversity that exists in our country, right? Like you cannot take a Punjabi influencer and think they are going to work in the South, right? Like you need to maintain the authenticity, not in just terms of their voice, but also in terms of the culture, right? Like, and you need to like tailor your content to kind of suit the preferences and cultural nuances of different regions. So by kind of understanding and embracing these aspects, right? Like I think brands can definitely establish like a deeper connection with the audience that they're serving, like your like Indian audiences, and basically drive greater engagement and conversions. This is the end of section 1. Yeah. Yeah, really nice question, Akhil. I debated really hard last night in terms of should I put Kyra or no, right? Now, for the uninitiated, Kyra is a metaverse influencer. Been following Kyra for almost like 6 to 9 months now. Essentially, every bit of content that comes out of her, like, okay, the beauty of a virtual influencer is a virtual influencer cannot fall sick. A virtual influencer will never lose their voice. A virtual influencer will never age. A lot of things that come with being a virtual influencer, right? The thing is, right now, we are in this era where you keep hearing words like Web3, Metaverse, VR, AR, so many different things, right? Like right now, I feel Kyra is a great addition. As a, I wouldn't call it a gimmick per se. I think it's a great execution that they are doing in terms of bringing virtual influencers to the foray in India. A lot of people like Akhil, just like people like you who have gotten interested into virtual influencers because of a person like Kyra, right? If you see, there are a lot of Japanese influencers also like this. A lot of streamers are actually virtual influencers these days on Twitch as well. So that trend is definitely growing. It just reduces the dependency of on a real influencer who will charge you money, right? So eventually, if you end up having an in-house virtual influencer, that could like maybe change the game for certain brands. I cannot completely and 100% give you this answer because it's something that we'll have to see. Like, you never know how the internet reacts to stuff like this, right? Like, what I know last week when I woke up that I'm going to use Twitter for life till Elon kind of messed it up, and I saw myself signing up for Threads 2 days ago. So you can't really predict what kind of ends up happening in stuff like this. However, keep an eye out, dude. It's always to see what new things they are kind of doing, so that eventually at some point of time it ends up becoming mainstream. You already know the playbook in your head, and that's the advice I'd say. Yeah. And I'll just move to the second part of this presentation. So so far we've spoken about how influencers can create meaningful engagement for your brand, right? Like how can or like how you as a creative person in an agency can think of partnering with different influencers to kind of reach your campaign KPIs or create like fun, enjoyable and memorable campaigns, right? But let's say if you don't want to do that. Let's say you don't want to get into this brand mess. You don't want to get into this agency mess, because agencies anyway have a bad rep, right? Agencies always have a bad rep for having like long working hours and all of that. What if you want to be your own boss, right? Like, let's say you want to become a creator, right? Like, so far, if you've seen like the first part, like I said, now it focuses on how influencer marketing can work for your brand, right? And it can make your brand shine. But I also mentioned that there's always restrictions, right? Like there are political restrictions, sexual restrictions, religious restrictions. Like, let's say if I were to consider myself as a brand, I love making fun of what's happening in our country from time to time. Okay. But can a brand really do that? Can a brand do that without getting consequences? Like there are examples in the West where like they actually practice free speech. Okay. Like, so brands like Wendy's, Burger King, absolutely go out of their way to roast people. But if you take a look at like most brands, they don't, right? So if you think about it, then like this analogy that I think I was talking about this presentation with a colleague, and he just happened to mention that if if you were to look at influencer marketing like a puzzle, right? Like content creation is actually the missing piece that brings it all together, right? So what I want to focus on in the next section is just a little bit of inspo in terms of if you have content creator ambitions, how could you like get into it? It's actually not going into as much detail. For that, I would ask you all to get in touch with Neha and sign up for this course. This is a very unsponsored ad, but it definitely needs a longer look at things for you to kind of understand the whole realm. I've tried to cover as much as possible in this, but definitely would like for you all to learn it, it is very imperative that you understand the whole landscape rather than just focus on one thing itself, right? So just again, just going to show a couple of videos and show you how people across the world have kind of become influencers and their journeys as well. Okay, so if you I don't know if you all have noticed this lovely clip that went viral a few months like last month itself, where this weather woman I have lost words, but I'm sure a lot of us saw this on meme pages, right? And while it was a great example of I mean a studio really trying to kind of get more likes or make news more fun and entertaining for a crowd that does not consume the news, it wasn't really particularly entertaining. Like you'll always remember her as someone who is not credible, not authentic, and at the same time, okay, kind of entertaining, right? But here's what a weatherman in the United States is doing. Okay.
Clear sky in Houston in the morning. Is this the real life or is this just fantasy? If you're just waking up and joining us, open your eyes, look up to the skies and see some sunshine. This time of year, we still get cold fronts, so the warm air is easy come, easy go. And relative to average, we're a little high, little low. Any way the wind blows doesn't really matter to me as long as rain holds off for the weekend. But that doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be the case. I see a little silhouette of a rain cloud out there in the distance over the Gulf. That rain staying offshore, though, this morning. If you have outdoor plans late in the day Saturday, you're thinking thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening. I don't expect any severe weather here, but certainly some downpours. Goodbye, everybody. I've got to go. Got to leave you all behind and face the truth that no wait weather and traffic ends now, but Houston Happens is coming up next.
Now, he's my favorite influencer from last year that I discovered, hands down. Okay, like I have stopped consuming news on TV, and even in that news section, I have never consumed weather, because weather is always something that is boring. It's a bunch of graphs. It's something that doesn't appeal to a regular human being, right? However, this man has made it so interesting, combining pop culture, where the whole internet is in on this joke, where he just tries to fit in song lyrics throughout his weather coverage, right? You can go and check out his profile. I think he was the one that I missed out, but I think in the end, I'll just give the influencer name. He just does Eminem lyrics, he does Linkin Park lyrics, Metallica lyrics. He just tries to fit them all into his weather forecast, right? So I think the inference that I wanted to take out of this was this man has found a great niche. He has found a great space to occupy, right? Like you've not heard of something like this happening before, when someone is trying to, like you might have done it in a class presentation where you're just trying to be cute and you have just put some song lyrics to make the class as well as the lecturer laugh. But to do this on national television is something, and at the same time, the internet being in on the joke is something I think anyone on the internet will resonate with, right? Like you're always rooting for him. You always want to see how he's going to bring out his lyrics in the next coverage, right? So yeah, so moving on to the next section. Sorry, yeah. So how do you start as a creator, right? Like you need to, like, we have reached a point where there are too many creators. Okay, like let's just be real. There are like I know, like in a country of 1.2 billion people, there are roughly 1 lakh influencers. Okay, which is not that bad a number, but that's enough as well, right? Like, but at the same time, if you as a person think you can become a content creator, if you as a person want to become an influencer, how do you begin, right? Like if you want to start comedy, there's tons of comedians out there. Do you want to start becoming a fashion stylist? There's tons of fashion stylists out there as well, right? Like, so you need to kind of separate yourself from the herd and kind of find your niche as well, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about in the next few videos. How a couple of people across the world, I'm going to start with an Indian example. There are these two lovely ladies. One is Sai Godbole and one is Ahilya Bamru. They love doing accent.
10 accents and impressions in 60 seconds. Go, Australian.
G'day, mate. Like, it's so nice that we're doing this. G'day, it's so lovely. I'm so happy.
Southern.
Well, how do you do? It's mighty fine to meet you. What have you been up to?
Valley girl.
I was literally here on a vacation with my friends and I really wanted to meet you, so that I love that we did.
Russian.
Well, it's a great coincidence that we're doing it because I was really looking forward to it.
British.
And I really want people to know how supportive we are of each other, and that's really lovely.
French.
No, absolument. I mean, this accent game is something that I really enjoy, so I'm so very happy.
Irish.
I really like that. It's so lovely that people like to watch us do this.
Scottish.
Well, when you reached out, I was so down. I was so down.
Long Island.
And we walked and we talked and drank coffee.
Shakira.
You get down, get up, oh, oh, you get down, get up, eh, eh, down, up, me not sung it, well, it's down for Africa.
Shakira.
Whenever, wherever, we said we'll be together, I've there and you've been there.
They've created a really nice following for themselves on the internet. Like, I think in the last year or two, they have almost grown up to 500,000 followers as well. Very cool niche to have, because it's not a job profile that you usually hear about, right? Like no one comes out and says, hey, I'm a voiceover artist, right? Like, you never hear this occupation being spoken about around you unless you are in advertising or unless you are doing BMM, right? So it's very cool to kind of see this kind of thing that you're usually not exposed to, and that's why they have so many followers. The second guy, again, very cool. Just take a look. So he thinks of himself as the human Shazam, okay? And I think that's really wonderful, because he like, if you follow him, I think his handle is, it's Jermaine, it's written there. He tries to find connections between songs from like the last century, okay? And like, he actually like rats out artists like, hey, you copied this from here and you copied this from here. So it's quite cute. Just again, right, like a very cool niche to own. You don't, like, we always speak about, hey yaar, tujhe wo gana uski tarah laga tha na, like you remember that era of Anu Malik where he was almost copying every other Western song and making it Indian. This guy, if he had existed at that point of time, he would have called Anu Malik out left, right, and center, right? Now there is a third guy here. He works in customer service, and he's just about making content about how customer service is a little like, we all treat telemarketers like shit, right, guys? Come on, let's be real. We have all been rude to a telemarketer. We have hung up calls. We have not even said good morning or like just properly said hello, stuff like that, right? So this guy has actually made customer services niche, but it's actually so universally relatable. Just have a look.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Send.
And that's all for today. Any questions? Yes, Max.
Yeah, are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? And then John was like, well, we need it tomorrow. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Hey Max, whenever you have a moment, can we get you to... Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's very relatable, right? Like, it's on a base level, it's very relatable. So like, I think the trick is, like I said again, right? Like, it's find your niche, try and make it as you know, away from what's happening in pop culture as possible. And that's a way to start. That's a way for you to kind of start making a mark as well, right?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So here are some names that I've ended up digging up, and you're not going to believe what they are influencers of, okay? Leila Gerani is an Excel influencer. She gives the internet tips and tricks on Microsoft Excel. I'm sorry, when I finished my engineering, I thought I will never use Excel again, till I came to advertising and I realized डॉक्यूमेंट्स पे तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है, सब लोग को एक्सेल शीट पे ही लिखना है. तो I actually ended up following her as well just to learn some tips and tricks here. Susan Santoro is a planning influencer. She actually helps you plan random things in your life. So like, let's say if you want to plan for a birthday, she will have a video for it. If you want to plan and organize your filing cabinet, she has a video for it. Like any planning thing that you can think of, she will have a video for it. And the last one, right, is a very weird niche that I ended up walking into. They are called grandfluencers. Okay, essentially So Lynn Slater is actually a PhD, but just decided, you know what, I have lived my life enough. I want to live it Zeenat Aman style. Like if you recently saw Zeenat Aman's cover on Vogue, so Lynn Slater just goes very elegant, very classy, always giving life advice, sort of a grandfluencer. The other one, I forget her name. I forget her name right now, but essentially, she's a symbol of people who are giving up on their health in their 70s or 80s. So she basically helps people in their 70s and 80s to kind of reclaim their health back. If you see, this is actually Photoshop, but if you go to her profile, she actually does backflips, and it's very crazy to see it, right? Yeah. So again, people who have actually cultivated their niche, and you won't, like when I say Excel influencer, you won't think of anyone else. But when I say comedy influencer, you will give 100 names to me, right? So it's very important that you, again, for the lack of a better phrase, find your niche. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you all recognize all of these faces? Comment section. Yeah. Left one is Mojo Rojo, yes. Rohan Joshi. Second one is Sakshi Shivdasani. Anyone knows the third one? Okay. So her name is Lisa Mangaldas. Lisa Mangaldas is, yes, great one, Rahul. Great one, Sharmila. Yes. So Lisa Mangaldas is a sex positivity influencer. Easiest actually, like, niche if we were to think of it as an Indian, because as Indians, we don't like to talk about sex. None of our parents have had the sex chat with us that we have just seen in Western movies, like their parents having, you know, the bird and bees conversation with them. However, we never went through all of that, right? Like, and she ends up answering a lot of questions that you might potentially have in your head, but are very scared to ask even your closest friend, right? So again, if you see, like I was trying to show the disparity between both. One is because you connect with Rohan and Sakshi on another level just because of the amount of relatable things that they talk about, right? But here is one thing that Lisa talks about that is supposed to be extremely relatable, yet we don't speak about. So a niche that has become very, like I would say, genre defining in a way, because she has not just created videos, she has now released a book, and she has now released a shop where she sells paraphernalia. Let me just say that, right? So so like, you don't need to limit yourself to doing a certain kind of content. You can essentially find something that really appeals to you think that will appeal to a larger audience, and kind of double down on that, right? Okay, so here's some inspo that I'm going to leave you all with.
is Yashraj Mukhate signing off.
Weirdly enough, the internet has a very love-hate relationship with Yasraj. I think they only end up loving him when his song becomes a earworm, right? And I think in the past 3 odd years since he became famous, I think he has had a lot of earworms in our head, right? From Rasode Mein Kaun Tha to Bikini Shoot to Podi Ho Rahi Hai. So many that I can name, right? However, again, like, I'm sorry, I'm just like taking this second section to just repeat that same phrase again and again, but he's not running out of content, right? If you think about it, he goes out of his way to find these clips. He goes out of his way to make sure that you find your next earworm, right? Like he's trying to occupy that space that Spotify technically is occupying, right? Like right now, if you are a Spotify or a YouTube consumer listening to music, Yashraj is trying to occupy that space by creating that earworm and letting you move away from those apps, right? So very inspiring journey. Had the opportunity of working with him for YouTube as well. Very hardworking, very true to his persona, knows when to say no to brands if he does not feel it's part of his authentic tone of voice. So it becomes a two-way conversation, right? Like just because a brand throws money at you does not mean you need to take it, right? If it aligns with your values, if it aligns with your principles at the end of the day, is when you should go with that. At the end of the day, maintaining your authentic tone of voice, right? I think that brings us to the end of the presentation. Yeah. Happy to entertain comments or if you want to chat.
Anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Sanket, you seem to be a real influencer to all of us.
I saw it. Thanks, Sharmila.
Yeah, you kept really engrossed, like glued to our seats.
Rohan, I didn't get your question. Could you elaborate? Sanyam, very nice question. Okay. Do you have any tips on how to find the gap in the content space of the particular niche? Yes, great question. So I think the way you begin with something like this, right, is first understand what your interests are. And what in those interests, like, okay, so if I were to say, I love watching sports, and within sports, I love watching football a lot. So I end up following a lot of football influencers, a lot of football publishers at the same time, right? So you kind of get an understanding of what kind of content is already there in the space, right? The more you understand what kind of content is there is when you'll realize where the gap is. And that is, I'm so sorry, that is the only way to kind of do it, because unless you get that creative brainwave yourself, you will need to understand. Okay, think of it this way, na. You can't play Antakshari if you don't know any songs, right? Like until then you won't realize, you won't be able to identify, अरे यार कि E से बहुत कम गाने होते हैं and M से काफी गाने होते हैं, right? So after you realize that there are so many songs, after you know a lot of songs, is only when you'll realize where your gaps are, right? So try and get to the bottom of that topic as much as possible. And then that's when you'll start seeing patterns and you'll understand where the gaps usually are. Hope I have answered your question. What is the future of marketing with memes? Yes, very nice question, Chiransh. The meme marketing space is very fertile right now. A lot of agencies have popped up in the last 2 years as well. Couple of them, I would love to give their names because they're very close friends as well. One is called Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. It's named after the phrase in Rick and Morty. And the second one is called oh god, I can't remember the name. Just give me a second. I'll just come back to your question as I remember the name. But what I mean to say is, so these agencies started with marketing memes for films. It started with like Gully Boy, when you ended up seeing Apna Time Aayega almost in every other meme that you were surfing on the internet, right? It started from there, and it has picked up to a point where ordinarily, if you see a normal Twitter user just talking about something outlandish, it could potentially have a meme marketing agency behind it. So in the last few months, if you must have noticed, there was this boy who, after RCB lost, was just drinking Pepsi in his balcony, and he was sulking a lot, right? That was planted. It was not him showing his authentic self or anything. It was actually a meme marketing agency who was doing that. There was this girl who was having Subway at Subway, and there was one of the employees who kind of ruined her photo, and she just spoke about it, and Subway came into the news like for almost 2 days or something. Again, an example of meme marketing, because you're not tagging the brand literally, but you're kind of dissing on them in some way, or like just like going against the system in some way. That's when your opinions, or that's when your content usually gets picked up. Yeah. Chiranj, I hope I have answered your question. How do you think influencers can differentiate while creating sponsored content? Most times, if they are creating stories, each one of them have similar content. How do brands and okay. Now, Neha, great question again. One thing I did not touch upon in this is there is an advertising body called the ASCI, the Advertising Standards and Councils of India, right? Now, because of so much deception and inauthenticity that comes in influencer content, they have introduced new rules. I did not want to touch upon that in this lecture because it's slightly a problem you'll encounter a lot when you're working very closely with influencers. Since this was the first session, I just thought, this is not something that could be discussed. But essentially now influencers are mandated to put hashtag ad in their, like they have to disclose it, right? Whether you're on Instagram, you have to say hashtag collab, hashtag ad, or do a paid partnership tag, right? Now, we found one sort of a loophole to kind of go about it is when we did this campaign that I showed about, which was the Why Is This a Swiggy Ad campaign, right? Now, the title of the campaign had ad in it, right? So what we did was we just hashtagged the title. So we just, Why Is This a Swiggy? And we just made it ad, hashtag ad. So a lot of people didn't end up noticing that. And we got like, we ended up, it was a very smart loophole in our opinion in that moment. However, with more and more people getting hired by the ASCI, I think more and more people will get called out. More and more brands will get notices for kind of circumventing these rules. So try and avoid that. In terms of your differentiating question, right? I think the answer just is to be more creative, right? Like you don't want to say the same things in multiple frames, right? Why would you? You are just wasting your own money, right? Like if an influencer is getting paid 1 lakh for each story, I'd rather they say a bunch of things rather than the same thing again and again. So try and maximize the content and maximize the objectives of your campaign that you want to set. Yeah. What is your opinion on threads? Too soon. I have no opinions on threads. I'm a Twitter loyalist. So far it's been fun, but like I think Twitter just offers more functionality. Shawnee, you're right. The agency is called Youngun. Yeah. The other meme agency is called Youngun. They are responsible for a lot of the meme marketing that's going on like these days. Y'all can contact this guy called Saksham Jadon. He heads the agency and like offers internships if y'all are looking for something like that. Yeah. When you work in a serious brand like healthcare or hospital, how can you bring creativity through a fun influencer? But the fun question. Rishika, great question. I think when it comes to brands like healthcare or hospitality, right? Like I think the brand managers do not want to do fun stuff because it's always very morbid, like to think about health as well. However, in the stuff that I've seen before, right? Like there's this lovely campaign that was done like I think 4 or 5 years ago. It was called Laugh at Death. Okay. It was basically getting people who are like cancer patients who are about to die to actually come out and do stand-up. Okay. Because yeah, and I think the contrast of it was so beautiful because first, you're not gonna laugh at a person who has cancer, but at the same time, they are the ones who are cracking the jokes. So it just becomes a way of support. It just becomes a way of like kind of making their remaining time on earth also as entertaining as well. So that way, it is a very brilliant idea. Do check out the case study. It's done by Medulla Network. It's called Laugh at Death. However, in order for me to completely answer your question, you need to slightly get into specifics. Like, let's say if you were to say, okay, cool, I have a medicine that counters liver disease. How do I like talk about that medicine in a much more informative way, right? Like for that, the ASCI again has guidelines in place. You cannot be a holistic healer and talk about medicine. You need to be a certified doctor. You need to be a certified medical professional in order to talk about something like this. Is it a good option to do paid promotion of yourself and your content? Yes, it is. It is absolutely okay. Please be shameless and promote yourself. Today, everyone's trying to find a share of voice. With more and more content becoming paid and not organic, it is completely okay to just pay to get a little bit of engagement, that little bit of traction. Even Yashraj Mukhate did it. So please, Yash, you don't need to worry about it. Does one have to do deep dive into research? Yes, yes, yes. I think I answered that question before as well, right? Like, which is, till you know what's on the field, you won't be able to identify where the gap is, right? And I think in order for you to kind of differentiate yourself and not just follow the herd again and again, like Tanmay has done Cheety and Hathi ke jokes 10 years ago. Are you going to come today and do Cheety and Hathi ke jokes? No, right? Like you want to like kind of move away from the herd slightly. So try and watch as much content as possible so you know where the gaps essentially exist. How do you bully clients into doing fun work? This is, I'm not answering this question when it's recording. Thank you. Do we have more questions? Otherwise, I think we can.
Yeah.
So this. Yeah.
I think they're done with those questions. It was quite intriguing session, I would say. Any more questions? And then I think if not, then we can, end the masterclass here. Pooja, what do you think?
Yeah, we can. Very interactive and very kind of captivating masterclass, I would say.
Thank you so
Great.
much. Thank you so much.
Anyone would like to give any feedback or anything,
Rishika, we will let you know about the master classes very soon. We'll be having some interesting topics for masterclass from us. And you are on a list, so you will receive all the information from us.
I'm just putting my email just in case anyone has any more questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to say a big thank you to Sanket. We all are consuming so much content these days, and our thumb is literally like becoming a content scroller, and we are and using it to our fullest. Thank you, and we all know that ideas is one of the most important factors in all of these, and how do you articulate those ideas, because they amplify, they influence you, they also sculpt your mind and brain. And thank you for clearing our doubts and also making us understand that how are they all engineered. There are various factors to it. And I must say that these influence marketers and these content creators are doing really, really well in the industry. And if you want to make the most out of it, you also need to understand that, it's not just about having something, a great idea on your platter, but also to understand that how it is executed and articulated, how the right words are used, because that is the content what you're hearing and the content what you're seeing also. And all of this is like art direction, copywriting, and also digital design. This is all of the three main important things what a Miami Ad School really will help and nurture your skills. So thank you so much. If you want to find the participants, if you want to find your niche and you want to carve your niche, please help us know how we can help you. Mammy at School, one of the most awarded school in the world, will help you do that. And thank you so much, Sanket. You've been a great influence yourself. Now on me, because I have known so many things from you. I've learned so many things from you. I mean, I usually like, I'm a more Instagram then, and I don't like Facebook, and I'm out of this Facebook for a very long time, so I'm very happy about it. But now I've got to know so many things from you. Thank you for that. And I think I will have some questions myself later on, which I will bug you
No
with
problem, no problem.
questions on WhatsApp. And hope to meet you soon, very soon, on our Bangalore campus. The participants who are on Bangalore campus, please reach out to us, reach out to Sanket, go meet him in his office, bug him with lot of creative questions, and he'll help you out. All in all, thank you very much, Sanket. Thank you so
Happy to
much
have.
for this
Yeah.
wonderful masterclass.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you,
And
Sanket.
have a happy weekend.
You too.
Happy weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the wonderful participants. You all have been wonderful, lovely questions. And hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you.